Nostradamus 2022. He worked as an apothecary for several years before entering the University of Montpellier, hoping to earn a doctorate, but was almost immediately expelled after his work as an apothecary. A manual trade forbidden by university statutes was discovered. He first married in 1531, but his wife and 2 children died in 1534 during another plague outbreak. He fought alongside doctors against the plague before remarrying to Anne Ponsarde, with whom he had 6 children. He wrote an almanac for 1550, and as a result of its success, continued writing them for future years as he began working as an astrologer for various wealthy patrons. Catherine de' Medici became one of his foremost supporters. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you can be updated by my new videos. His Les Prophesies, published in 1555, relied heavily on historical and literary precedent and initially received mixed reception. He suffered from severe gout towards the end of his life, which eventually developed into edema. He died on 1st or 2nd July 1566. Many popular authors have retold apocryphal legends about his life. Occultism. Following common fashion, he published an almanac in 1550, changing his name to Nostradamus for the first time in print. He was so inspired by the success of the almanac that he resolved to publish 1 or more each year. They are known to have contained at least 6,338 predictions, as well as at least 11 annual calendars, all of which began on January 1st, rather than March 1st, as is frequently assumed. Nobility and other prominent persons from far away began to ask him for horoscopes and psychic advice in response to the almanacs, though he generally expected his clients to supply the birth charts on which these would be based, rather than calculating them himself as a professional astrologer would. When he was forced to do it himself using published tables of the time, he frequently made mistakes and neglected to adjust the figures for his client's birthplace or time. He subsequently began work on a book of 1,000 mostly French quatrains, which would eventually become the largely undated prophecies for which he is well known today. He devised a method of obscuring his meaning by using virginalized syntax word games and a mixture of other languages such as Greek, Italian, Latin, and Provençal. Feeling vulnerable to religious opposition, he devised a method of obscuring his meaning using virginalized syntax word games and a mixture of other languages such as Greek, Italian, Latin, and Provençal. Works. Given the printing processes of the time, no 2 editions turn out to be identical, and finding even 2 copies that are identical is extremely rare. There is no reason to believe, as some would-be codebreakers do, that any edition's spellings or punctuations are identical to Nostradamus' originals. A manuscript known as the Orus Apollo can also be found in the Lyon Municipal Library, which houses over 2,000 authentic Nostradamus manuscripts under the supervision of Michael Comarat. It is a supposed translation of an ancient Greek treatise on Egyptian hieroglyphs based on subsequent Latin versions, all of which are sadly ignorant of the true meaning of the ancient Egyptian character, which was not accurately deciphered until Champollion in the 19th century. Content of the quatrains. The majority of the quatrains deal with disasters such as plagues, earthquakes, wars, floods, invasions, murders, droughts, and battles, all of which are undated and based on the Mirabilis Liber's foreshadowings. Some quatrains deal with the disasters as a whole, while others deal with a single person or small group of people. Some are limited to a single town, while others encompass multiple towns across multiple countries. And coming invasion of Europe by Muslim forces from the east and south led by the Antichrist is a key underlying theme, closely mirroring the then current Ottoman invasions and their earlier Saracen equivalents, as well as the Mirabilis Liber's past expectations. All of this is presented in the context of the apparently impending end of the world. Despite the fact that this is not mentioned, a belief that prompted a flurry of end-of-the-world collections at the time, including an unpublished collection of Christopher Columbus. Throughout history, there have been many different perspectives on Nostradamus. According to academics such as Jacques Halbron, Nostradamus' prophecies were forgeries created by latter hands with a political agenda. Popular claims. Many followers of Nostradamus believe his prophecies are true. However, due to the subjective nature of these readings, no two of them totally agree on what Nostradamus foretold in the past or future. Many admirers, on the other hand, agree that he foresaw the Greek Fire of London, the French Revolution, Napoleon's and Adolf Hitler's climbs, both world wars, and the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Popular authors regularly claim that he foresaw key events such as the Apollo moon landings in 1969, the Space Shuttle Challenger accident in 1986, the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1997, and the September 11 attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001 when their books were published. Since roughly 1987, John Hughes has produced a series of books on Nostradamus, including Nostradamus and the Millennium, Predictions of the Future, Nostradamus, The Complete Prophecies 1999, and Nostradamus, A Life and Myth 2001, 2003. In 1992, despite the historical seer's clear statement in his dedicatory letter to King Henry II that his prophecies were accurate, one commentator who claimed to be able to contact Nostradamus under hypnosis had him interpret his own verse, X.6, a prediction specifically about floods in southern France around the city of Nimes, and the people taking refuge in its Colossus, or Colosseum, a Roman amphitheater now known as the Arenes. Nostradamus and 9/11. Perhaps the most prominent claim made in the last 20 years was that Nostradamus foretold the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. It was a widely disseminated story in late 2001, and it is still generally accepted today. Is it possible that steel birds refer to aeroplanes? Is it possible that New York City is the metropolis in 40 degrees north latitude? Many people believe this, but it was later discovered that this piece is a mix of authentic Nostradamus verse and fiction. Not only is it not written in quatrain form, but the phrase two steel birds is very telling, as steel suitable for airplanes was not produced until 1854, about 200 years after Nostradamus' death. Given that Nostradamus died in 1566, 88 years before the quatrain is said to have been composed, it would be a truly amazing piece. This was really part of an essay on how easy important-sounding prophecy can be generated utilizing ambiguous images on a Canadian website. It's ironic that what started out as a skeptic's anti-prophecy article ended up being passed off as the actual thing. Rebuttal from a scholarly perspective. However, from the 1980s onward, an intellectual backlash developed, particularly in France. The publication of Nostradamus' private correspondence in 1983, followed by the publication of the original editions of 1555 and 1557 discovered by Commarat and Benazra in subsequent years, as well as the unearthing of much original archival material, revealed that much of what was claimed about Nostradamus did not match the documented facts. None of the allegations just presented could be supported up by any known contemporary documentary evidence, according to the scholars. The majority of them were clearly based on unsourced stories conveyed as fact by far later critics like Joubert, 1656, Guinaud, 1693, and Barresti, 1840, on modern misunderstandings of 16th century French writings or on pure fiction. I hope you find this video helpful. If you liked the video, do like and subscribe as it really helps our channel, and do remember to give your feedback in the comments below. See you in the next video with some more interesting topics and facts.